to Ready to be Romanced. I'm Torry.
And I'm Alexandria.
And today we're discussing
Forget Me Not.
Alexandria, welcome to Ready to be Romanced. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you for having me. Excited.
Can you tell the listeners about your podcast, Pessimism at its Finest?
Sure. So my podcast is Pessimism at its Finest, and I discuss pop culture. I interview people about various topics that are just of interest to me. And also I just chat about my life and my week. So if you want to be nosy and learn more about me, then tune in.
I love it. And you've been on Ready to be Petty, my other podcast, several times. Our pop culture interests are kind of a Venn diagram. One circle. But I'm stoked to talk to you about books, because I feel like this just came up randomly. We were podcasting and then you were like, oh, I'm like reading this romance novel. I was like, no, just wait, I'm reading a romance novel.
Yes. I read so many of them. I love it.
What got you into reading romance?
So when I was in, I think it was middle school, I think my first true romance was Twilight, if we can call it that.
Yes.
And then I went to a book sale and I found my first Harlequin. And I have so many Harlequins now. I think I counted on the weekends 80 of them. And I was really into them through grade 8 to grade 9. And then we hit the 50 Shades of Grey train. And that's when I really got into, I would say, smut. But maybe Harlequins are smut. I don't know. But that's kind of how I got into it.
I feel like, because I feel like we're similar ages, I feel like that's a very common, maybe not the Harlequin, but the Twilight and the 50 Shades, I feel like, is a tale as old as time.
But I feel like I must add in, I had a huge lull throughout university because I was just reading like urban planning texts. And then when I finished my master's degree, I don't remember how I picked up after, but that's what really like invigorated this entire romance reading era of my life. So thanks, Anna Todd.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Yes. It was the same for me. Like, listeners were like, shut the fuck up. You say this every single time. But, like, I think that's a common story where it's like you're reading so much academic text at university that you aren't reading for pleasure. And then something will get us back in. And I feel like if you liked YA when you were a teen, it makes sense that a lot of the, like, books that we would like now are romance.
Absolutely. I think they've transitioned as we've aged. Those authors have done a good job. Like Mike Cabot.
Yes, 100%. Or I always think of Sophie Kinsella. Like,
yes.
I feel like I was eating up her books in high school and stuff like that.
I have them, and also I have a lot of her Madeline Wickham's.
Oh.
So she writes under Sophie Kinsella and Madeline Wickham. I can't remember which one's her legal name.
I think it's Madeline. You're right.
And so I have all the shopaholics and I have all these Madeline Wickhams and I'm still obsessed with her. I think she's a fantastic comedic romance chick lit writer. Yeah, but I consider her chick lit, not romance. Yeah, she's chick lit.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, that's what I liked about it. Like, it was just written by a woman for women, and I identified with that because also during high school and when I went to college, it was like everything I was reading was written by men.
Ooh. Do you know what? In urban planning, it's about a 40-60. So I can't say that. I can't say that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I just found, I was like, I'm not interested in this anymore. And like really, really took a left turn, but I'm really glad I found this genre.
We love it. I love it.
Are there any tropes that you specifically like? Like, this book was like kind of grumpy sunshine, second chance, a little bit of forced proximity.
That's true. Okay, I do love forced proximity. I did write them down, actually.
Nice.
So, my favorite has to be enemies to lovers.
Yes, love.
But I also love marriage or anything of convenience.
Mm-hmm.
Friends to lovers, forced proximity, fake relationships. I eat that up. Like Love Hypothesis, love it. And secret relationships, and then class differences like Maxton Hall, if you've seen that show.
Oh, duh.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what I like.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. That's so fun. Okay, well, we're reading Forget Me Not, so warning, there's going to be spoilers ahead. And this book was suggested by one of our listeners, Haley, and I just want to say thanks because I had a really good time reading this.
You know what? I had a lot of thoughts. The thing I kept thinking about is the main female protagonist is me. And so I was really shook.
No, don't you like kind of hate that when you're like, oh, great, this is me, and I'm just seeing all of my like foibles, whatever, like commitment problems or whatever on the page. Yeah. That was like me when I read Love Theoretically, and it was Elsie who's like the biggest people pleaser ever, and I was like, yikes, like this is a little too real.
I can't. I was like upset with myself. I was so
yes. No, I fucking get that. So it was written by Julie Soto and it was published July 11th, 2023. So it's just over a year old. And our main character is Amma. It's always so weird when I say names that are a little different for the first time because I'm like, I haven't said this verbally like ever, but her real name is Amaryllis, which is a beautiful flower, but she goes by Amma, and she's 26 and she's a wedding planner in Sacramento. She is like the kind of classic, I would say, type A wedding planner where it's like she can fix any problem, she can be a perfectionist to like just nail the couple's wishes. And, like, she takes her job really seriously. You could almost say she's a workaholic.
She is a workaholic. I think that we'll get into it, but I think the male protagonist says it all the time. She shows different, she just displays it in different ways. Again, saw myself. But she
Yeah. Well, it's a tough business to be in, and she talks about this because she has run her own business for 3 years, but she used to work for a really big company. What was her name?
Whitney was the...
Yes, Whitney Harrison.
Yes.
And she kind of has the monopoly on the Sacramento wedding scene. And so I get the pressure of being 26 and going out and doing your own thing and wanting to be successful and having, steep competition, that you would become a workaholic.
Absolutely. You'd have to, especially when you're starting a new business. I think starting a new business is naturally ingrained in you. If you don't have that workaholic mindset, it just won't succeed unless you have friends in high places like trust fund babies.
Yes. Yeah. The Nepo babies of it all. The kind of big driving factor to a lot of the plot of this book is that her mom has been married 16 times, and this makes Amma like absolutely terrified of commitment. Like, she just really sees marriage as like honestly just kind of like transactional. She doesn't see it as necessary. Her mom just deems it a big party. So she doesn't want to ever get married herself. And she like dates around, but she doesn't really like have a boyfriend.
This is me to the T. Except my mom has not been married 16 times.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know if we'll get there in a second, but I think in terms of the Nepo babyism, and it's in the book too, what I didn't understand was technically Emma's a Nepo baby herself, and her mom is very affluent. And I just didn't get, how is she divorced 16 times, but like, are they really good prenups? Is she just not staying long enough to activate the prenups? Like, I just didn't understand how she was maintaining that level of affluence throughout all these marriages and divorces. That wasn't realistic to me, but I wanted them to kind of dig more into Emma's mom's rationale around being married so many times.
Agreed. Yeah, you're right. Because she goes to a big private school that Hazel, which is the couple that she's doing the wedding for, comments on. Or Jackie does, because Jackie is from Sacramento. So Jackie says, oh, you went to that high school. Like, obviously there was like a high tuition or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. She does come from an affluent family. And you're totally right. That is actually one of my gripes and grumbles about this book, is just like, could we sit down at some point with the mom? Because I think she goes through like literally like 2 breakups in this book. Yeah. And it's like, could we sit her down and just be like, hey, mom, love that you love and that you have like lots of partners that have brought beautiful like siblings into my life. But do you really need to get married for like the 16th time? But none of that conversation happens.
No, she just kind of coddled the mom in the book. The mom gets divorced. She's like, sure, I guess I'll take you in again. And there's really no kind of conversation or reconciliation around the trauma that this has caused her. She never mentions it to
Yeah.
her mom at all.
No, she really doesn't. And also, not to shit on this book again, I had a lovely time. But like, like she also doesn't ever, and maybe it's like maybe we would see this in a sequel or something like that, but it's like she never actually addresses the issue, the whole issue. And like we can talk about that when we get to the meat and potatoes of the book, but it's like when they break up and then they get back together because of this like mommy issue thing, she truly doesn't like, she doesn't go to therapy, she doesn't like work on it, she just kind of like not gives up or gives in, but just kind of like is like,
Yeah.
I saw that I was wrong and we're all good now. Like
I have a lot of thoughts on that too.
yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. I know. I know we'll get into it. But yeah, as I mentioned, she is basically getting a contract with a really famous influencer named Hazel and her partner Jackie. And Jackie wants to get married in Sacramento because it means a lot to her. She's very sentimental. And Hazel is also lovely, but kind of more of the like vapid influencer. Amma's actually been a big fan of Hazel because she has a makeup line and, you know, she like grew up with her. She taught her how to contour and she really wants to just like hit this wedding out of the park.
I would too. I also want to know what YouTube star is this reminiscent of?
Good cue.
Because I couldn't
That's
pick
a
it up.
good cue. Yeah, you're right. So this would have been published in 2023, so probably written in 2022.
Yeah.
Is it like it wouldn't be like Michaela Nagara or like like the
I,
TikToker.
I couldn't figure it out. I was thinking, it's 2023, but are we going back to like the 2010s? Because that was the big era of like the makeup YouTuber blowing up.
You're right. And she did say she was taught how to contour. And I feel like contouring is not like that's a 2016 trend. I feel
That's
like.
way before TikTok.
Yeah,
So
you're right.
so I was sitting there and I was like, what makeup? Anyways, I couldn't figure it out. If any listeners kind of read this, clue into which YouTuber she was drawing reference to or like taking inspiration from, let us know. I just couldn't figure it out.
Please.
Yes.
Yeah, me neither. That's a really good point. And I love when people like I love when my guests like say stuff like that because it's like that's the type of stuff that I like just don't even pick up in the book. I like don't even think about it, like don't give another thought. So I like love that you're right. It probably is based off of somebody, which I really like. And yeah, they really like her work, so they have hired her. They're like singing her praises. They're like, we want to get married at this rose garden in Sacramento. Because of the limitations of the gardens, there's only specific florists that get access to working there. And they're like, oh, it's okay. We've already picked our florist. It's Bloomy. When she literally disassociates, I feel so bad because we learn that the person that runs Bloomy is Elliot, who Amma previously dated.
I know. You know what? Again, this was not me. I'm anything for the dollar. So I probably would have freaked out for a minute. And then I would have been like, you know what? We just got to get through it for the money. But I also get the fact it's really nerve wracking to see. I think they were broken up for about 2.5 years and they didn't see each other for that long before this. I think that's really nerve wracking, especially if it's like your first love situation, which it appears to be here.
100%. Honestly, I love that you would have done it for the money. I would have been like, it's not worth it. I'll just fucking ghost. Like
For the portfolio and for the money, we're gonna get through.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Because I would have been like, actually, I heard really bad things about this Elliot Bloom guy. Like, let's try anyone else. But we later find out that Elliot is like a family friend of Jackie's. So it's like, it makes sense that it's like all locked in. And she does we see in the book, she does give it like a fair shot. So I do appreciate that grit that she has.
Also, I think she knew that if she didn't get this wedding, she wouldn't be able to elevate the business. She really needed the publicity from this wedding, and she knew it. And
Yes.
and honestly, furthermore, my mentality is this: if he doesn't deliver on the flowers, he looks bad, not me.
True. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and you're right because it's like, well, you chose him. I didn't even choose him. I
Yeah,
would have gone with someone else.
exactly. There you go. There you go.
So this book is dual POV, and all of Elliot's POV is done in flashbacks. So we get a flashback, and it's of when Elliot first meets Amma, and they're at a wedding, and it's 5 years ago, and Elliot is working with his dad. And at the time, he was helping out his dad run the florist business because he got lung cancer. And we learn later on in the book that he eventually passes away. But he's helping out, and he was at an architecture school at the time. And Amma's working for Whitney Harrison. Basically, at the wedding, while they're all setting up for the big do, the groom like gropes and tries to kiss Amma, and Elliot sees it. He watches her punch him, and he like wants to step in and doesn't really know what to do because he sees her really upset. Whitney steps in, kind of solves the issue, but doesn't tend to the feelings of Amma. And we see his dad take out the handkerchief with like some ice and go and, show a little bit of compassion to her.
That was really sweet, actually. I think Elliot's
Yeah.
dad was a sweetheart.
Me too. Like when they were talking about how he would always give people like discounts and stuff like that, I was like, this is a kind soul.
He is. He loved what he did. He did it for love. He did not do it for money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we flash forward to present day, and Alma has to arrange a meeting with Elliot and Hazel and Jackie because Hazel and Jackie are in town in between Hazel's projects. And this is actually the most cringy thing. I actually had to, like, both Alexandria and I listened via audiobook, and I literally had to pause it for like a minute and be like, ah! And then like restart. But basically she has to set this meeting, and she does not want to call him at all. So she gets her best friend / ex step sibling Mara to book an appointment under the guise of her assistant Kelsey. So she's like, is this Bloomy? Like, I need Elliot, like, to arrange a meeting with Amma. And he goes, Mara? Like, he's like, can you just put Amma on the line? And like, she's like, no, this is Kelsey. And they have to like fake her like walking to go get Amma. Like, they fake 2 sets of like feet. It's just so funny, but it's so cringy.
I had to play it back twice because I was dying of laughter when I read that. It's the
Me
fact that he
too.
called them out so quickly. And I
Yeah.
also wonder, was he waiting for the phone call? Like, did he get like a hint, or did they tell him, oh, Emma's our like wedding planner, she's gonna call you? Because he was just too ready with that comeback. Too ready.
Yes.
And then at first, and we'll go into it, but in the next chapter, we figure out like, okay, he knows who this person is. But at first, I was like, how did he know? Like, I feel like he knew. Someone tipped him off.
100%. Yeah. I feel like probably Jackie was like, oh, Elliot, like, wait for a call from our wedding planner.
Oh, yeah.
And so he probably knew. But yeah, and like, obviously he would have known Mara because they dated for, I think it ended up being about 6-ish months.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just so fucking funny. So then we get a flashback from 3 years ago, and this is when Amma leaves the Whitney Harrison business and starts her own. And she goes to Bloomy to make them one of her vendors. And we see like immediately just like very quick banter and flirty vibes and stuff like that. Like it's so funny because he like makes fun that she looks like she's 16 years old. But she's like, do you look at all 16-year-olds like this? It's very, very cute.
It is cute. I feel like he's trying to be a double asshole to her to not show that he's interested in her, and she was just not having it, but she was interested in him. So it was like a big tension, and I did like it. I actually I'm gonna say, like, really and truly, I really do like Elliot.
Me too. Too much. I liked him too much. I do really like the trope of like he hates everyone but me type of thing.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I've dated people like that. No,
I feel like he didn't though. I feel like he hates, you know what I realized? It's not that he hates people, he hates like certain things about people. And he even hates certain things about Amma, and they don't change. It's like he accepts that this is who she is, but he'll tell her, like, I hate this about you. Continuously.
Yeah, I hate that you bring donuts into
Yes.
into my store and then you just leave them there and stuff like that.
He hates her mess. He's able to say what he hates, but I think he even mentioned something he hates about Mara at a certain point, like in her personality, like if he finds it annoying. So that's just how he is. He hates everyone equally, even the love of his life.
Yeah. Fuck, that's so funny. That's the relatable content. But yeah, they have this like flirty exchange. He even makes her this like boutonniere, and it's with flowers that have like, you know, double meanings. Like, you know how yellow roses mean friendship and like white roses mean sympathy or whatever. And this one meant like that she was like immature and stuff like that. It was really witty. And
I like it.
She calls that out too. Like, yeah. At a later point, she calls it out. So it's like they're on the same level. They like a lot of the same things. Like, her passion is also a lot of florals because of her job.
Yeah. And I think that I like a man with witty banter, and I think he had great witty banter, and she was able to kind of like do that tennis kind of play, the back and forth.
The volleying.
The volleying, that's what it's called. Thank you. I loved it. I loved it.
Me too. Me too.
I just like, you know.
It was really, really cute. So in present day, we see Amma meet Whitney. And we learn a lot more about their backstory. So she is getting advice on vendors because Jackie and Hazel want to get married like 7 months out. It's, I think, May in the book, and they want to get married that like October.
Yeah.
And so she's like, I'm going to need help. I've also never planned a wedding with this type of budget. So she meets Whitney for coffee, and we like learn more about their relationship. Like, basically that Whitney was really jealous of Amma's like raw talent, and that she hated that Amma was so liked by the clients that they would want to invite her to like the bachelorette parties and like just be more than clients with her. Like, they wanted to be more like friends. Mm-hmm. It's funny because I kind of see both sides of the story.
Yeah.
I if I like gun to my head, if I had to pick, I would pick Amma. But I was like, I also kind of get Whitney's point too, because I'm like, okay, but you are making like breeding grounds for like, yeah, them calling you 24/7, or them thinking that you are a personal friend and they can, you know, not treat you like a professional. They can ask for crazy favors. And also, it's like if you plan, say, 10 weddings a year or whatever,
yeah,
that means like you're going to 10 bachelorettes or 10 wedding showers or like whatever. Like, it's kind of, you do need some professional boundaries.
And I think that was the problem. I think that Whitney had her walls up too much. Like, she really would not do anything besides business. But Amma was too into her like clients' lives. I thought it was a little bit too much, and I did agree with Whitney telling her to pull back. I didn't like the way she said it.
Yes,
that was what it was wrong. But I also think, like, no offense, not even just calling you all the time. If something goes wrong, they're gonna double blame you because you've blurred that line between professional and personal. So
totally.
It's like a friend doing it for you now, but you're paying this friend a lot of money. So you expect more than you'd expect from the average wedding planner. So I do agree. I'm going to give Whitney that win.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it to Whitney.
Yeah, 100%. I was like, that's actually like good advice for a young professional too. And I think actually we talked a little bit about this because you teach, and I really relate to it because I work a lot with students, and there is a balance that you have to strike because I'm could be similar age to them. Like,
Yeah.
my student staff that I'm working with this summer, she's married. She's in her PhD program, and we're very similar ages, like just a few years off. And it's like, yeah, I want to be friends with her, but we also work in a professional capacity. So it is a balance that you have to strike, that I feel like when I was 26, I was probably a lot worse at it than I am now at almost 32.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think I really got how to do it perfectly around 28.
Mm-hmm.
So last
Exactly.
year.
Yeah. No, seriously. I really feel that, because at some point you do get older and the students, some of the age spread can be a lot more, but it's like, yeah, some of my students are grad students that are in their 30s. So it's like I could see where professional lines could be blurred, but it's like you got to always keep it in check, Amma. Oh, yeah. So, yeah.
That was my issue with her too. I did think she was too much. And actually, Elliot does kind of hint at it a little bit in the book, not in terms of like her attending bachelorettes. Like, he thinks it's a good idea for her to kind of go and show support, but he does mention that she invests too much into these couples. I forget how he words it, but he does bring it up too. And I'm like, if your boss and your man are kind of saying the same thing, girl, you gotta reevaluate.
Yes, that's another really good point, is he says you care so much that, like, again, when we see her at the hospital at the end of the book, it's like you are even putting them above your own personal safety and health.
Yeah.
And that is bad. Like, that is not having a boundary.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, she would get just so invested that if everything wasn't perfect, she would be upset. But on the other hand, Whitney was so far removed that she missed a lot of the relationship building, and then wouldn't be able to put on such a tailored event to her client. So, yeah.
But I have another controversial opinion, and so I'll give it to Whitney. So when you're working like in a business, the CEO doesn't really build those like ground level relationships. He hires people for that. And Whitney got to a point where she had so many people hired to do that part for her, and she was just the face. So
You're right.
She's the face, she's the name, she's the brand. And the brand is Whitney. So does she really need to build a relationship? Is that her job?
No, you're right. It's the like design coordinator or whatever that Amma was, and she was just doing it to a crazy extent. But you're right. Like, at her stage in her career, she's not the one, unless again, maybe it's a VIP client or something like that. She's not the one doing all of that stuff.
Absolutely not. I guarantee if you write Beyonce fan mail, Beyonce's not writing it back to you. So that's I know it's like a grand example, but it's kind of.
No. Yeah. It's the same. Totally. Yeah. So in present day, again, we see the crew, which is Hazel, Jackie, Amma, and Elliot, meet at Bloomy. And since Amma hasn't been there for like 2.5 years, she notices that he has improved the shop a lot. And we kind of learn through flashbacks, because she doesn't say it kind of like in her POV, but that basically it was all the things that she suggested, like that he adds like kind of a showroom to the shop and stuff like that. So I think she really likes that. And we see that, Amma has had a profound impact on Elliot. And she's really nervous. She like curls her hair and stuff like that. like which I would be going like full beat. Like I would be like high heels, short dress. Like I would be doing the same. So I get it. But Elliot ignores her the whole meeting and basically pretends he doesn't know her.
I mean, I don't blame him. As I said to you, I'm there for a check. We're gonna cut the check. We're gonna get out. Yeah. That's my whole thing. I don't need to know you. I just need to send you emails. That's all I need to do. But yeah, definitely. It was so awkward. I was like, this is crazy awkward.
Yeah, like he would basically address the whole group when it was supposed to be directed at Amma. And Jackie and Hazel note that he's really hot, but he's rude. And that's their like first inkling about him, because we see later on they're trying to like basically set them up, which is really funny. So the wedding planning is, in full swing at this point, and Amma is calling a bunch of vendors and trying to hire them for the wedding, and she realizes there are 4 Whitney Harrison weddings on October 7th. She gets a little suspicious because she told Whitney about the date, and now all of a sudden all of the like really top-notch vendors in Sacramento are booked on that day.
Okay, now if you read the book, you'll see this, but in flashbacks, Elliot warns Emma multiple times about Whitney's intentions, about Whitney sabotaging her. And in the flash forwards, he tries to warn her again. Like, I think he says when she tells him that the 4 Whitney weddings are on October 7th, he turns to her immediately. He's like, well, did you tell her?
100%. He knows how she moves, but Emma still, like, she just has rose-colored glasses about her.
I think that the way Elliot is lost in the sauce for Emma is the way Emma's lost in the sauce for Whitney. That's just kind of like what it was. I just felt like I was like, girl, as she was telling Whitney all this and having this meeting, I was like, why are you telling Whitney? She's your biggest op.
I know, she's your biggest op, and it was like in the movies where it's like the person's telling the villain all of the secrets, and you just know that she's doing this to fucking sabotage her. Like, the writing was on the wall for everyone but Amma.
I just don't understand how she did not see it. And I also, no offense, wouldn't you brief these like places before you go and talk to Whitney? Like, aren't they like common vendors that people use? Wouldn't you call them first and ask around, do you have capacity? And then if you can't find anything, you talk to Whitney. I don't know. I just feel like maybe she, I don't want to blame her. Whitney was her comfort, and that's why she went to Whitney. But I think there were signs, and Emma just chose not to see them.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. I was like, you could ask for her help without giving her so much specific details. I felt, but again, it is her comfort. Like, that's a really good way of saying it. Like, she felt like she needed support because this was the biggest wedding that she was doing, and there's a lot riding on it, so I don't blame her for doing this. But I was like, you just hear the like villain music in the background, just like,
oh yeah. I was like, no, don't do it.
I know. So Amma meets Jackie at the Rose Garden to hear more about why she wants to pick that spot. We hear more about just like the nostalgia factor, that she used to play soccer there. And they're starting to plan this like really elaborate ceremony. And they're wondering where they're going to hold the reception, because they would want it at a different place outside of the Rose Garden. And Jackie suggests a ballet studio that she used to dance at. And then we get a flashback of when Amma like really is starting to like hang out more with Elliot and interact more. And she follows his florist account on Instagram, but he's posting bad pictures because he doesn't like social media. And so Amma and Mara, who's a photographer, go down to his shop and take a bunch of photos and post them. And it's really cute because Mara takes photos of them together, like her fixing his hair. And when Mara sends them to Amma and Elliot, he's like, oh my God, if you like look at my face, I look like the, like the cartoon, like bazooka eyes, like he's like, oh my God, I have like fucking moon face or whatever, moon eyes. And I'm just mooning over this girl in these pictures. But it's very cute, them, Amma and Mara, helping him out.
I loved that chapter. I loved that scene. I thought it was so cool how she like called him out about these ugly photos, brings Mara there. It's like, no, I'm going to fix your life right now. They post the photos. His Instagram starts to blow up because, as I said, he's really hot. Again, they never described him though, but then it was very annoying because they had the cover art, and so you're like, is he a man bun guy? Like, I don't know, but they never said it in the books, unless they did and I missed it. But I think it was nice that she did that for him, helped his business in that way. And then they have those cute memories in those photos. It touched my heart. I thought it was a cute little scene.
Me too. And she notices his tattoos because he has 6 and they're all of flowers that he'll never see. So there are these like rare flowers. And this was really cute too because he's like, do you have any tattoos? And she's like, no, but I could be convinced to get a flower one. And then he goes like, you are a flower. Which it sounds so bad when I say it. And even his POV, he was like, in this flashback, he was like, it wasn't smooth, it wasn't sexy or whatever, but it just like came out. And I was like, those are the best lines when they just come out like that.
Oh, yes. He's just so awkward. He's just so awkward with her, but like, I love it.
Yeah, he was kind of underrated that he's kind of like nerdy and like kind of a loner. And like, he talks about like, yes, he's like hooked up with girls and like gone on dates and stuff like that, but he's not like a smooth like playboy. And that's so much better than like a billionaire romance. Like,
oh yeah, I love it. I just love the fact that, you know, he's a florist by circumstance, not by choice.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of like navigating his life, navigating the death of his father, his parents' divorce, and trying to figure out who he wants to be. And I think that he's actually a deeper and more complex character than we realize. Totally. But I loved it.
Me too. So again, the crew meets up to work on the floral design, and it's at a cafe. But Amma's car's like emergency or like engine lights or whatever are on, so she walks. And Hazel and Jackie are late, so she has alone time with Elliot. We, again, find out when they all meet together that her real name is Amaryllis. It's, you know, a flower, like, again, soulmate type of shit. And the girls are like, oh, why did you walk? Like, we could have picked you up. Or, like, Elliot's, like, a handy guy. Why doesn't he look at your car? So they like basically drive her home and look at her car. He checks it out because it's the same issue that happened 2.5 years ago. And the girls are in on the plan. Like, they see the vibes, but they see it as like, oh, they're being awkward because they like each other, not like, oh, they're being awkward because they used to date and then broke up.
Oh yeah, I think they hid the fact that they used to date very well from these people, and I thought that was professional. Very professional of them. But you can also see the chemistry. It's hard to hide chemistry. But the best part about this is that in the flashback, Elliot told her multiple times that she needs to service a car. Like, you need to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, it's like it needs to be done. And she never took that advice. And I'm like, you're driving a death trap. But also, new cars are expensive, but you should also service the one you have to make it last longer. And so he was livid at this point when he has to drive her back to her apartment and look at the same car that he's been trying to tell her for over 2 years to get her shit together about. Like, he was 100% so mad. I was just kind of like, honestly, Elliot's me, because I would have been so mad.
And Amma is me. Sorry.
I would be so upset. Good to it.
No, 2.5 years is brutal to procrastinate something that really just takes like an afternoon. But again, I get it. But yeah, it's just it's funny how this comes, and we see him figuring out why her car has those lights on, like in another flashback.
Oh yeah. Figures it out for her, tells her what to do. She does not listen.
She does not listen at all.
But do we girly pops listen, or do we just expect them to do it?
I know. So the crew meets at the dance studio, and it's basically like a rundown building that hasn't actually been used as a dance studio for years. Mm-hmm. But with some, architecture help and some construction, they think it's a really cute place to hold the reception because it has a rooftop like patio.
I had a lot of thoughts and a lot.
Yeah.
First of all, Emma, like, why didn't she go look at it without
earlier?
Them? And I mean, first of all, what's the budget? So my understanding is that there's no budget.
Yeah, basically, I feel this is actually one of my biggest fucking bones to pick with this book, because She says that I think her biggest wedding that she had done was $50,000. She said that these women, their budget was $250,000.
Okay.
And I was like, a $50,000 wedding is like you getting married at the park. Like it's like an open bar nowadays is like $20K. Not that you have to have an open bar. I'm just saying like a venue nowadays for one night is like could be, again, not all of them, but like the average one I feel like is like 10 to 20K just for that one night.
Okay, so they're in Sacramento. I
Yes.
know for a fact there's absolutely no way they could have pulled this off in Sacramento for $250,000. This is giving Baltimore. This is giving Baltimore. Okay, I was just like, these are Baltimore figures. This is not Canada. This is Saskatchewan, Canada figures. Okay, could do it in Saskatchewan. Yes. Could do it in Balti. You cannot do it in Sacramento. And I was very triggered.
No, literally. I was like, just leave out the numbers because basically also they don't stick to the budget of $250K like at all.
No.
So that was annoying, but I was like, no, it is wild to me that you are saying these numbers when they're going to have like 12 horse-drawn carriages and shit. Like, yeah.
I was like, first of all, this is a building that's not structurally sound. Okay, so you have to call on the engineer. How much does an engineer cost in 2024? Someone comment somewhere. And then second of all, you have to gut it.
Yes.
Gut it. I'm already at $500,000.
No, I know. Just to redo the building.
And then there was a pest issue. They had a bat infestation. Do you know how much that cost?
Yes.
So we're not even anywhere else.
No, I know. And I was like, their dresses probably cost like, I don't know, like 8 to 10K or something like that. Like, I was just like, I don't know where you're getting these figures, but
no, the math is not
this is wild to me. No, the math was non-existent in this book. Like, no. Truly, I was like LOLing at this. But basically, she wants to make their dreams come true. This is like where they're at their best, where they are envisioning, like they're looking at a bat infested rundown building, but they're envisioning the beautiful wedding with the lights and the flowers, the fucking baby breath chandeliers and all of that stuff. They're going to do mock-ups together like they used to. While she's talking to Elliot in the ballet studio, she notices that he has fresh ink. Obviously, because she's supposed to be professional and they're like not talking to each other, she doesn't ask about it. But I was like, oh my fucking God. I was like, it was on his chest too. I was like, oh my God, he 100% got an amaryllis flower. Like, I was like, and I'm like dumb when it comes to these books. And I was like, oh my God, he literally got her name basically tattooed on him, over his heart.
That is so cheesy.
It's so cheesy. It's so cheesy. But also she, like, when they're having sex multiple times, she's always like, call me by my full name or whatever. Like, it really like gets her off. But I was like, oh my God, that's fucking insanity.
I was like, sir. Sir.
I was like, please. Like, in the book, of course, I was like giggling, kicking my feet. But like, if you really think about it, I was like, that's fucking crazy.
Actually, no, I did not. I was not kicking my feet. I was like, I think I actually said, sir, please.
No, I was like dead. And she's like, I need to know what that tattoo is. And I was like, no, girl, you know. Like, you know. My God. So we get a flashback about a wedding that Amma's doing and Elliot's doing the flowers. And he's really impressed by what she can pull off. But he helps her out a lot, and he's like, you need an assistant, because why are you placing the programs and lighting the candles and putting up the signs and stuff? Like, that shouldn't be your job. He gets so flustered and frustrated with her that they kiss. And again, this is so wild. They have public sex, like, I would say 9 times out of 10 in this book. And, like, like literally she gives him a hand job while the wedding is happening. in the like basically next room, and I was like, this is really when the book goes wild for me. Like I was like, this is insane. Like,
I had to like rewind this part, and then I had to actually open the physical book and read this whole hands-on scene, because like at first when I was listening to the audiobook, I did not realize that she was giving him a hand job. I don't know if it was the way that it was articulated, so I had to read it, like actually read it, and I said, oh, okay.
Madam, like I was just like, I think, yeah, very rom-com-y for them to kiss while at work, being really flustered and like emotions are high. Then she like undoes his belt buckle, and I was like, you were at work, ma'am. Like
she was waiting. She was waiting for
she
that
was
moment.
ready. She's really forward. That's another thing that really surprised me, because in the flashback she's so forward, but then in real life, because I guess she's so heartbroken or whatever, she's so like timid and passive.
Oh yeah, but I think she's also nervous because of how they ended. So she's kind of, she doesn't know what to say to him. She feels a lot of guilt.
Yeah,
so I think that's why she is. But she was super, super forward with him, and he was more passive with her.
Yeah, because he was again the like kind of loner, nerdy guy, and she was like, really get what you wanted. It was impressive to me. I was impressed by her.
She knew what she wanted. She wanted Elliot.
Yeah, 100%. There's just like a little moment I'll briefly mention, but the crew goes over to Jackie's mom's place, and I think the mom, but maybe someone else, asks like, oh, are you dating? And she's like, oh, me and Elliot, like, no, we're not. And then the mom's like, oh, no, I just meant, like, in general, like, are you dating people? And he's there, but, like, thank God he doesn't hear her, because I was also like, that is so fucking embarrassing. Like,
she's, like, so hyper-focused on him. Like, she can't think about anything else. I love it.
Yeah, it's so funny.
I love it. I love them.
We get another flashback. Alma's bringing one of her clients to Bloomy, and he's really unsure how to act after he just got that HJ from her. And they were talking about how he hates the donut boxes and stuff like that, and she brings the donut box. After the meeting, she goes and says bye to her client in the parking lot, but then will eventually come back. And while she's doing that, Elliot eats a donut that she had brought. So she comes back into the shop, and they start hooking up on his workstation. And midway through making out, she's like, did you have one of those donuts that I brought in? And he's like, yeah, why? And she goes into anaphylactic shock because she has a peanut allergy.
Do you want to know something? Like, side note, this made me laugh because I used to be a camp counselor, and I had a 16-year-old child, and he was deathly allergic to eggs, and we were doing an egg drop, and he would not put down the eggs. And I said, come here, sir, come. I'll never forget this. I said, one day you're going to find a girl, and you're really going to like her, and the date's going to be going so well, and you're going to lean in to kiss her, and you're going to die. Because before she got there, she ate a McDonald's Egg McMuffin. And that's all for you. Put down my eggs. I've never seen a kid put down my eggs faster. And so this reminded me of that child, who, by the way, is doing very well today. I saw him in a mall a few years ago. He's doing extremely well. He's like 6 foot something now, and in his 20s. Yeah, in his 20s and 6 foot something. I was like so surprised. So it worked out. He did not die from eggs. But it reminded me of that in the sense that you really have to be careful what you're eating. And you should probably ask people if they have any allergies. We don't think about that anymore.
No, we don't, because I have an anaphylactic peanut allergy. So this is actually my worst nightmare. I remember as a girl, like I was, I don't know, maybe 12, 13, 14. I remember reading an article in like an allergy magazine, because again, like, you know, 90s, early 2000s. The article was called Kiss of Death, and it was about a girl who died from making out with her boyfriend, or like a random, I guess probably not her boyfriend because he would have known about the peanut allergy, but making out with a random and dying. And I was like, great, so I'm never gonna have like a random hookup like on the dance floor at a club or something like that. And then it's like you do that anyways. But like, because I think also the article was like, this is rare, because I feel like it's like, I think the thing that I didn't get about this, because she almost eats a peanut butter bar at another point in the book. I was like, you can smell it. Like, even if it is like a literal like whisper of peanuts, you can smell it immediately because your body has attuned that sense, because that's how it keeps you safe. It knows that it's poison. So I was like,
he on his breath.
I know. I was like, there's no, like, I feel like it's like if, and maybe I'm not a doctor, so don't quote me on this, but I'm like, I feel like if you made out with someone and they ate peanuts like that morning or something like that, it would be such trace amounts that you would be fine. Or if he immediately just ate something, you would be able to like smell it immediately. And so I was like, oh my God. But it also is like my biggest fear, because it's so embarrassing also. And I know it shouldn't be embarrassing, but it just is, because you become like incapacitated basically.
So I get skin reactions to nuts, but particularly pistachios turn my lips black. And so I will literally tell every day, I'm like, you don't eat hazelnuts, don't eat pistachios, like do not eat Nutella and touch me. Like, don't do any of that. You have to. And I have to be honest, like I've never dated a man who has like eaten nuts around me in any capacity, just if they're around me. They're
100%. I always felt bad for my ex because he loved peanuts, and it's like he just wasn't able to eat them and stuff like that. But when he would like go home or like go on vacation or something without me, he would like literally like triple down on the peanut intake, but which is really funny. But it's like he was really good at that, and he was really good at like washing his water bottles when he would like, and like, or like chapstick, like, because it's like if you eat peanuts and then you use chapstick or use a reusable water bottle that you don't wash every day, it's like that's where things can go wrong. But I just felt really bad. He freaks out, he gives her the EpiPen, he calls 911, takes her to the hospital, and he meets her mom, Cynthia.
That was an interesting meeting. Very interesting meeting.
Yeah, because she's like, both their parents really are like, not nosy, but like are really supportive of the relationship.
I think Cynthia knew he was the one from the minute she saw him there. So I think she knew. And so I think she was kind of hopeful her daughter would do something different from her this time. It wouldn't be her
and she's trying her fucking hardest. Like,
oh, she really is. She likes Elliot. She likes him right away. It's hard not to like him.
Yeah, 100%. But I think her mom, obviously her mom wants her to be in love and to be in a supportive relationship. There's another flashback, and Elliot and Alma meet at another wedding, and it's at a church, but they go to a secluded corner and they kiss. Again, she's like super forward about it, but I love it. And then they go into this like room at the front of the church, and they're starting to hook up, and she's saying stuff like, I really want to know you. I want to know the things you love, the things you hate. And she's like, I want to see all of your tattoos. And he like shows, because she's seen the ones on his arms, but he shows her the one on her back. And then he has two on his legs that, she'll see another time.
I love this.
And he does say her full name, her full first name, like as I feel like she's like climaxing or something like that. And then she like kind of abruptly leaves, and he's like, oh, I wonder what that is about, which I just assumed that it was like, it felt real to her and she didn't want that, because I don't think we ever really got an explanation.
I just thought it was post-nut clarity. I think if men can have it, why can't women?
Yeah, literally. That's so funny. And in present day, we get Hazel and Jackie asking Alma to come to their bachelorette. I think they're doing like a joint bachelorette situation, and she declines because of her history with Whitney, but they're like adamant that she comes on the bachelorette.
I mean, in this case, she could have, maybe she should go. I mean, she's already been doing it.
No, 100%. I was like, also, if it's an influencer, it's going to be like a big to do. So I was like, you should definitely go. But also I'm like, why stop now? But but also I'm like, it's kind of also rude to like, it's kind of like when you're at someone's house and they're like, oh, you want a cup of tea? And you're like, oh no, I'm good. And then they're like, oh, no. Like my grandma does this. She's like, oh, no. Just have a cup of tea. Like have some cookies and stuff like that. You're like, oh no, good. I'm good. I just ate. And They just like won't take no for an answer.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of annoying too. Like if she says no, she's not your friend, she's your wedding planner, accept it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And the couple lets Amma know that they've been offered a TV deal and they really want to accept it, or at least Hazel wants to accept it. Jackie is more on the fence because she's like a private citizen. So
Yeah.
I get why she would be on the fence. But they do accept it. And so they have to refilm a lot of scenes, like the cake tasting, and they do dress shopping and all of that stuff for the show.
Yeah.
And Amma, like, she does some like talking head interviews and stuff like that. She kind of fumbles through. The TV show is never like, you know, she's never in her bag on the TV show.
Oh no, definitely not.
And there is something that, you know, it seems like it was made for reality TV, but it was actually just something that happened. But basically, there's like a hurricane or something like that was leading to a global flour shortage of the one type of flour that Hazel and Jackie wanted. So Elliot calls Amma like really early in the morning when Mara was sleeping over because they had gone out drinking. He's like, I'm going to have to redesign all of the florals. And so they're like, okay, we have to tell the couple, but we'll do it on TV. But they fucking didn't tell them beforehand. And I was like, that is so weird and shady that they didn't do that.
I feel like another thing too, I think Emma was looking for content for the TV show to make it so perfect. Elliot's just kind of like, cool, we'll do whatever you say. So I don't even think Elliot knew they weren't briefed. I think Elliot was just told this is what we're gonna do, and Elliot's like, sure, I'm just the florist.
Yes, I agreed.
Yeah,
agreed. But the couple gets really flustered because they feel ambushed, and Elliot like saves the day and like shows like a redesigned bouquet and stuff like that and kind of saves the day. But I don't know, I just feel like I'm like, you should, if you had to already refilm scenes, give the girls a heads up. Like, God.
I also, reality TV is not always perfectly reality. Like you should have kind of like a game plan going for the day.
100%. But
Let
they're
them
trying
know.
to make it really, you know, juicy television.
Emma doesn't understand. Elliot's gonna do the save anyway. It gave Elliot like a good opportunity to show his skill set.
Yes, absolutely. So we get a flashback of Amma and Elliot's first date. They go to an Italian restaurant, and yeah, we learn a little bit more about the dad, that Amma still has his handkerchief, and Elliot says like, I'm glad that you have that. And he tells her like, yeah, after you left Whitney's business, she came into the flower shop and she wanted to copy all of your floral arrangements that you had come up with. Elliot was like, I just wanted to let you know that because you, again, are the magic in this kind of job. And she's like, well, technically when I worked under her, she did technically have, you know, the IP or whatever to like my design. So she didn't do anything really shady, but Elliot's just kind of warning her to look out for Whitney. And they go and have sex in her car, another public sex situation. And that's when he notices all the service engine lights are on. So it goes back to their first date, which I thought was really cute.
That was really cute. And I love the fact that he stops having sex. He's like, no, we're going to service this car.
Yeah, literally.
I'm not servicing you. I'm servicing this vehicle.
The car. Yeah, exactly. That was so fucking funny. So it's present day and they're redoing the scenes of the girls doing their wedding dress shopping, and they bump into Whitney, and she's clearly very jealous of Amma that she got this really big contract. And Hazel joins them and they're all chatting, and the bachelorette party comes up, and Whitney makes some like sly comments of like how Amma like really hasn't changed and stuff, even though again Amma keeps declining. So I felt bad for her because I was like, they're making her look bad and she's doing nothing wrong.
Whitney was also really rude and condescending because she was so jealous, and then Emma just like kind of shut down and like kind of got really sad. She's like, I'm so sorry, I can't go. And I felt really bad. I think Emma really wanted to go. It's just that
really,
she was
really badly.
She did, and I think it was just because of the trauma from Whitney that she didn't want to go, and then with Whitney right there, she didn't want her to see that she was going. So it just became this whole thing. But I felt bad for her there. I'm like, girl, at this point, just go.
Yeah, I agreed. Especially if it's your like favorite influencer. Also, I feel like I've been saying Amma. It is Amma because
Emma,
like,
Emma.
I think it's Emma because remember Elliot like says it like Emma and she likes that. So like
Emma. Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Emma.
I know. I think I've been saying. I think you're saying it right. I think I'm saying it wrong.
I don't even know how I'm saying it now. Emma. Okay.
Emma.
Okay, I'll figure it out.
God. So we get a flashback and we see that after their date, Emma ghosts Elliot for 2 weeks, but then she turns up at the flower shop and she's like, I just have some rules. I have issues and I'm aware of them. And I don't want labels. Labels like ruin everything. But I do want exclusivity and I want to see you more than once a week. And, you know, she notes that this is all from her mom. But this is like my biggest gripe with dating in the fucking 21st century is that like exclusivity and seeing a person more than once a week is a boyfriend. You are literally just not saying the word boyfriend. Like, I hate to break it to you, girly, but it's like, that's a relationship.
She's so me. She's so me because I will dodge the word boyfriend like bullets. I'll be like, I'm just like, it's a man that I've just been seeing.
It's a friend who's a boy. Yes.
I'm like, yes. I was like, I've seen him at like this restaurant, at this event, my house, his house. Like I've seen him at places, but
that's so funny.
But I would not call him anything. I am notoriously bad for that.
And like, I get it. I get it, but it's like, I always think, I don't know, that's just something, like, I always just think, I'm just like, that's dating. Like, people always trying to make, like, these workarounds for, like, what a relationship is when it is really that simple, I feel like.
Oh, yeah. It you know what? It is very simple. I just also would have pulled the same crap. So I could not have said anything about her. I was like reading it and I was like, this is me. But at the same point in time, you know, it forced me to think about the label boyfriend a little bit more. Like, what does this label mean?
I do get it though. It's like, yeah, maybe boyfriend means you're planning stuff for the future or whatever, but It doesn't, I don't know. For me, it's like dating exclusively and being a boyfriend to me is like, it's the same thing, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe dating exclusively just has a casual element to it that I just never got.
I feel like they can be the same thing. I think the difference for me is like, if I need to be driven to the hospital at 12 o'clock in the night, can I call you? And that like defines the difference between like dating exclusively and a boyfriend, because I don't necessarily think I'd call the man I'm dating exclusively to take me to the hospital and wait and emerge with me. But I'd expect that of a boyfriend.
Yeah, so, I get that. Or like maybe you're right, like a wedding date or like a trip or something like that. But like her terms, I was like, babe, that's a boyfriend. Like,
she asked for more than I do. So she asked for way more than I do. I'm trying to cut back days.
Yeah, that's so relatable. Oh my God. So they have sex again in his workroom. This is really funny. His mom calls and she's like, why is the store closed? And like, aren't you supposed to be here? Like, let me in. And he's like, I'm sick. I'm at Rite Aid. And she's like, no, you're not. You're inside. And then Amma and the senator meet. And his mom's really excited because she's like, well, if that's a wedding planner that you like working with, I just got married to Stefan, or I just got engaged to Stefan so she can plan our wedding. So her first real high profile client.
Oh yeah. And I think that, first of all, that wedding was more than $50,000. Just want to preface that there for sure.
Yeah.
But like this scene cracked me up because the mom knew that there was a girl. Like she had the intuition a girl was there. And then Emma coming back for the purse. Just
the purse.
And the flowers in both the back of their hair.
Yes, yeah. They literally were like having sex in dirt. She's like, you're fucking dumb for trying to lie about this. Like, it's so funny.
Dumb, my child.
Like, so funny.
But it's the fact that the mom caught right away. He's like, he's doing something nefarious. I want to know what it is. I
So
loved
fucking
it.
funny. Me too. So we get a flashback about basically just like months past. Again, they're basically dating. He gives her space in his closet. They sleep together every night. They go 6 weeks without not sleeping together every single night. And she starts working out of his flower shop, and they talk about having a more defined business deal where he does installations and have kind of like exclusivity rights to working together. So when clients go into the florist, or she brings clients into her office, they can, show off each other's work.
Okay, honey, this is an engagement basically. This is like you are about to sign a business deal with this man. Isn't that what a marriage contract is? No, I'm not. I'm just saying, or maybe common law. At this point, as I said, she and I are the same, except I don't ask for this. I feel
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
feel like this is a boyfriend. You live with him. You basically live with this man, and you
Six
work with
weeks?
him.
6 weeks of sleeping in the same bed together. And I was also like, working together is a lot more serious than being boyfriend girlfriend.
That's what I'm saying. And then you want to intermingle your businesses. So not only are you with him from 9 to 5, you literally are with him from 5 to 9 before you go to bed. You are with this
Yeah.
man. When are you not with this man, actually?
No, literally at this point, never. And it's also like, if you break up or if your business flops, it affects the other person. I was like, that is basically marriage. That's having kids. That's everything. Like, you're doing the damn thing.
They really are. And he brings this up later on in the book. He actually
Yeah.
brings it up himself. And I'm just like, girl, even
Wake up.
like you are crazy.
No, I know. I never take the guy's side of the story in books, but I'm like low-key on Elliot's side for like 99% of this book, because I'm like, she's kind of being shit to him and not admitting how like much they mean to each other and stuff like that.
This girl's so in love with this man, and she's doing everything that a girlfriend would do, and she's doing everything to show that she's in love, and she does not want to let this man go. She does not want to give him commitment, but she's giving him commitment, but she doesn't want to say she's giving him commitment. And so he's getting frustrated, as he
Yeah.
should, because
Yes.
he's like, what are we doing? Like, my head would combust if someone was doing this to me.
Yeah. And this is basically what happens next, because it's the night before his mom's wedding that Emma, whatever, is planning. She's really stressed out. It's 2:30 in the morning. She can't sleep. She's like, I really want a bath to calm down. He doesn't have a bath at his apartment, so they drive to her place. They take a bath together. He's like dying to say I love you. He's helping her calm down when she's really stressed out by going over her to-do list. And at the wedding the next day, it goes off without a hitch. And they slow dance together. And it's the first time they're kind of like public to their families, basically. Or his family, at least. She says to him, and she actually beats him to the punch and says, I'm falling in love with you. And surprise him with a visit to the Franklin tree plant at Harvard. So again, planning a fucking trip to Boston. They live in Sacramento. And this is so funny. But he responds, marry me. And she freaks the fuck out. Did you expect this?
Okay, side note, I have a couple of things here to say.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Frustrated me. First of all, honey, this is his dream. His dream is literally to go to this place and see this flower. You have just fulfilled this man's dream besides being you. Of course, he's just like, marry me. That's what he like. I don't know if he meant it like in terms of like, marry me right now. Like, I want to be engaged right now. I think he was just saying like, I think he just used a few words to say, I would like to marry you and have this long-term commitment with you. And the fact that, and he mentions it, the fact that you're planning these trips with me, that means you see me in the future. You see me long term. So why are you freaking out like this? But side note, I just want to say the way she reacted to this proposal is exactly how I would react to a proposal.
Oh,
So
me too. Yeah.
verbatim, like,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I would just.
She's like, no.
I would. I would just be like, I need a PowerPoint. Like explaining why I should marry you. But you can circle back with the PowerPoint and hold on to that. The answer is no, but circle back.
Yeah, because also it's like, okay, this is the other thing about this, because I was like, yeah, that's intense. I will say though, and maybe I'm crazy, so you can also say that, but like, if he responded, I love you too, would they have broken up? Because like, no offense, but I'm like, if you say I love you to someone, to me, like to a partner, I'm like, to me, that is like intent to marry or like be long-term partners if you don't want to like sign the fucking paper. So I was like, I feel like he got caught up in the moment and said, marry me instead of I love you. And she freaks the fuck out. I'm like, bitch, you just said you're falling in love with him. So why when he, I guess she got scared because he returned the feelings, but I was like, to me, I was like, I don't get what, did she just think he was going to say nothing? I don't know.
I think she thought he was going to say, I love you too. I think that's honestly what she thought he was going to say.
And then what leads to a marriage is love. I'm confused.
Can I bring up this like quote? I did highlight it.
Yes, so please.
He says to her, I forget the chapter now, but he says to her, it's chapter 22. He says, what do you like the most about weddings? And she says, the proposal. And then he's like, the part you have nothing to do with. And I was like, girl, what? So like, did you want
She has issues. I know. And then he said, like, she basically says, oh, I don't want that. So I guess him saying marry me is kind of stepping over. If he knows that she doesn't want to get married, I guess that is fair. But I don't think, it's not like he got down on a knee and popped a fucking ring out of his back pocket. He just said like an offhand, like, marry me. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm not seeing it. Like, I would still freak out. Like, don't get me wrong. But I wouldn't like go to an immediate dumping, because I was like, I feel like if they, and this is the miscommunication trope of it all, but it's like if they just sat down and was like, I do love you, but I don't see marriage in my future, I feel like he would have been like, okay.
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like at this time he was not having it. He's like, we need to get married. Because he says, again, I highlighted this too. He says, you said you didn't believe in marriage, but that was before. And she says, what, before you?
Oh, and yeah.
Yes, before me, before you gave it a chance. And she said, I was never going to give marriage a chance, Elliot. I was never in the cards. And so I think that she probably was saying it, but he was so lost in the moment and so in love with her that he just was not listening to it. And I have another theory at the end of the book, but we'll get there about this.
No, you're right, though. Like, she saw it as, like, I'm never going to get married. And he saw it as, like, you just haven't found the right person. Eventually, you'll change your mind. And that's not fair of him. I will give you that. But, like, whatever. I was like, you said you were in love with him. And he responded in a little bit of a drastic way. But I was, like, not... I am curious if he had said, I love you instead of marry me, if they would have had the same issue.
I don't think they would have. I really don't. I think that
I guess because the label of marriage is the issue for her, not the love part. But yeah. I feel like that's potatoes, potato. Like, I feel like that's really pulling hairs because, like,
girl, like you're trying to merge a business. I can't.
No, I was like, you literally ran a company together at this point. Like, fuck. Like,
I was like, ma'am.
Yeah, so brutal. But they like get into a fight. This was really bad, but she throws the Whitney advice back into his face. He's like, this is why Whitney said don't get too close to vendors or like / clients. And I was like, that is so, like, that is a fucking dagger to the heart.
I was like, girl, you're doing the most. You're doing the most. Just truly. Say no. Say I have to focus on this wedding. I will talk to you tomorrow. And walk away. I also hate, side note, I hate the fact that she got so flustered by this that she flops on the wedding. Like, she dips. That is so
Yes.
unprofessional. And then side note, for those of you who don't know, it's actually Elliot's mom that referred her to Hazel and
Yes.
well, I can't remember the name,
Yes.
Jackie.
Jackie.
And so I'm just kind of like, why? I don't understand why his mom did that, but at the same time,
Yeah, good fucking point. She didn't even do the takedown of the wedding.
she didn't. She like left Elliot to do that after she broke his heart. She leaves him to do, and that's why you don't merge businesses. There you go.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
So it is present day. It's Hazel and Jackie's wedding. A few things start to go wrong. Elliot's flower arch breaks, so he's like late to the venue. And then Amma has to pick up this basin that Jackie's mom really wants included in the wedding.
Side note, before you continue, I just want to preface this by saying, because Tori's going to say the next part, they sent her a text, they sent Amma a text, and they said, you need 4 to 6 men to pick up this basin. 4 to 6 men. Continue.
But she doesn't see that. And I was like, that is also kind of weird as a wedding planner to like miss a detail, I feel like that. Because she did get the FYI that it will need heavy duty lifting.
Yeah.
And when she arrives at the place, she's shocked that it's a bathtub. Instead of just taking a deep breath and calling some movers, she decides to try to put it in her car by herself. She then, like, obviously drops it when she's trying to lift it. It falls on her foot. She breaks her foot. And she can't call anyone. She's literally, like, writhing on the ground in pain. But she has her dumb fucking Bluetooth headphone on. And Elliot calls her. And they're like, we're coming to help. And so Elliot wrangles up some ex-siblings, including Michael, Mara's ex, to go help her. And they load it into their truck. And Elliot's like, I'm taking you to the ER. And she's like, no, we got to get to the wedding. Jackie calls her. She's getting like cold feet all of a sudden. And Elliot's like, there's actually no other option. You need to get this. Like, you
Because she would
literally
have gotten
can't
her
walk.
foot amputated. That's
Yeah,
what Michael said.
yeah. Yes, yeah. Michael is an ex like med student or whatever, and he looked at it and he's like, "Oh no, you like defo need to go to the hospital."
Like, it's bad because you lose blood flow to like the appendage, and then you
Yeah.
lose it. Is a wedding really worth your foot? Like, no offense.
No, I know, but at this point, she like literally thinks that. So we get another flashback, and it's from the senator's wedding again, Elliot's mom's wedding. This is. Yeah, this is sad because he's really upset that they broke up, and he's like searching the wedding for her, basically the venue, trying to call her and stuff, and he can't get a hold of her. And then it's so hectic. We flash back to present day, and they're in the emerge room, and Elliot is like, tell me your entire to-do list. I will do it, and I will cue you, or you can cue the wedding from the phone while you're waiting to see a doctor. While she's waiting to see a doctor, Hazel, the bride, one of the brides, goes on a fucking Instagram live and is like, hey guys, it's almost my wedding, but like can't find my wedding planner anywhere, which like is kind of true, but I was like, you didn't have to put her on blast.
That was so petty. Like, I didn't like that. But Emma should have just said she broke her foot.
Thank you. It pissed me off so much that I was like, girl, you were in the hospital. It actually looks way worse that you are just, they seemingly think that you are just ghosting them. I was like, tell them that you are in the fucking hospital so they have an explanation to what has happened.
And so you'll be out soon. They're accelerating your stuff. It's America. If you have those dollars, they'll get you in and out. And she clearly
100%. Did. Yes. But yeah, so she's like freaking out. But she also like didn't actually have to wait. There's some other like snafus, like Bia, the filmmaker, wants to film everything. Elliot tells her she can't. There's like a police closing off the streets.
Elliot had that on lock.
He fucking handled it.
Elliot was just like, I know what to do. I'll handle it.
It was hot.
I was
yeah.
Like, we love him. We love him.
It was really impressive. And that's why they work well together as a team.
Oh, yeah.
But she leaves the hospital. She gets to the wedding. And Whitney is there, even though Whitney, like, she saw the live. She asked if Amma needed help. She said no, but she goes anyways. And so she's, like, so fucking pissed. She finally confronts Whitney, tells her to back the fuck off. And Bia is filming the entire thing. Whitney calls her a slut, calls her an ungrateful bitch. And then goes, like, completely silent when she figures that she's being filmed.
Yeah.
I was like, well, they'll never air that because Whitney would have never signed a consent form. And B is like, oh, no. We got it. We got the consent form, and this is filmed in 4K. Like, she was like, we're going to put this bitch on blast. It was...
Whitney's done.
It was wild. And basically the wedding is going really well because, you know, Amma put so much work into it with Elliot. Hazel apologizes for her, recommends her to a bunch of friends, and Amma goes to thank Elliot for what he did, especially that morning for her. And she says that she misses him, and they kiss. She's like, I still love you. And he's like, I can't do this.
I don't blame him.
No, me neither. I was like, of course it's romantic and stuff like that. Oh, I should have mentioned that at one point, to calm Jackie down, Elliot, like, basically...
Oh, we forgot that.
Yeah. Like, Amma, I think, gets kind of like the green light because when Jackie has cold feet, Elliot goes and, like, smooths things over and basically is like, trust me, I get it. Like, I'm in love with someone too. And, like, you like, don't fall out of love and you just... I don't know.
It was beautiful.
Want to celebrate it in a certain way. Yeah, it was really beautiful.
Like, he basically was just saying, like, I'm still in love with Amma, and it's painful, but, like, you just have to kind of get through it. And as I said, money, honey. You know, and Elliot has the right mindset. Thank you. Anyways, but it was beautiful, and I think she heard that, and she was feeling very sentimental, and that's why she did it too.
When she kisses him, and he's like, I can't do this. It's like, again, I think that makes sense because it's like, she hasn't had a conversation with him at all about why they even broke up.
Did she ever go back and get her stuff from his apartment or vice versa?
It sounds like not. Like, it sounds like they basically just went ghost.
That's crazy. That is actually crazy.
Yeah, it's so wild. But yeah, wedding goes well. Elliot shows up on the Monday after the wedding. This is finally good because I feel like she's conflict avoidant. And she's like, no, I want to get back together with you. Like, the kiss was real. I do still love you. I want to be with you forever. I just don't want the wedding. I only want one relationship because of what I saw with my mom. And then she gets down on one knee and she goes, marry me, which, like, I was fucking dying. And Elliot goes, no. And it was like, it was just like.
Yes, that's the right answer, Elliot. It's no. She has not addressed the problems with you. Right? This is the first time she's apologizing in nearly 3 years. Okay, yeah, you guys had a good wedding, but she hasn't worked through her issues actually, and she's just like, marry me, and he's like, for what?
No, and then all of a sudden she's like, okay, well, it's fine if you don't marry me, but can we work together again? And I was like, you have learned nothing. Like, I wanted to jump into the book and fucking shake her and just be like, you have put this man through hell. Like,
I was like, if I were Elliot, I would be looking around to see if the camera crew from the reality show was still there. I would think I'm on Punk'd.
Like 100%. I'd be like, are you actually fucking serious right now? Like, this is insane. So he's like, I won't marry you, but I will date the shit out of you. And they start hooking up. She's like, I want to see your new tattoo. And then he reveals that it's an amaryllis over his heart. And they have sex and they exchange I love yous.
I'm like, Elliot, like, first of all, Elliot, make her fight for this. This was not a fight. You guys did not work through your issues. You basically just went back to having good sex, right? I don't know how you trust her, period. Like, I don't know how he trusts her. I would have no level of trust. That would be hard for me.
Especially the ghosting aspect of it.
I don't understand. He's perfectly within his right to be like, absolutely not. I'm not marrying you. Yeah. And he actually for the rest of the relationship and even in the epilogue, he keeps saying he will not marry her. And I think another thing too, with what he said, with what she said at the senator's wedding, she really doesn't want to get married and she really doesn't believe in it. So the only reason you're asking me now is to save face. So yes, I want to be
Yeah.
with you, but I don't want to marry you. And I probably never will because you said to me in many words that this is not what you want. And I'm really crazy for thinking that that's what we should want for each other. So I think that him saying no, even after all that time, is kind of him keeping her at arm's length and protecting his heart. But he does love her. I don't think this will last. I think if they were to write a sequel, I just don't think this relationship would last.
That is spicy. That is a spicy take. Honestly, I get that though. If this was real life, I actually agree with you because it's like she hadn't dealt with anything and they were both kind of compromising.
Yeah.
This is where I related to her because I feel like when you upset someone, instead of, you know, being vulnerable and apologizing and discussing the issue, I also just want to ghost somebody and then just reappear in a few weeks and pretend like nothing happened. I don't want to do that, but that is my kind of go-to like conflict style, which I know is fucking horrendous. The difference between me and Amit is that I'm working on that and she just like straight up isn't. Like,
No, I think I'm Elliot. I'm just like attack right away. I'm just
yeah,
like,
yeah,
let's just go one for one. And I
yeah.
think that I think this, if this was reality, number one, I think that Elliot would have like been in like the midst of this and the whirlwind and taken her back. I don't think they would have made it 6 months actually, if this was real life.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think so.
Or like unfortunately they would make it like 10 years and then Elliot would be like, I want to have kids, or like we should actually like we are common law, like should we just like make it official or whatever, and then they would break up or something like that. Like
Yeah.
brutal.
It like married like 10 years dating, 1 year married, divorced. Like it just,
Exactly.
but I just don't to me, this was not a happy ending. For me, this book would have been a happy ending if they did not reconcile. And I know that that's weird to say about books, but it was when I read the ending, I was kind of like, I would have liked it if my happy ending to me would have been if like they still had a good working relationship, admitted they loved each other, but they just did not reconcile.
Yeah, and being like, you were my first love and I
Yeah.
love you and I will always like love you, but we need to different things. So we're gonna date other people or whatever.
I think he wants to be a husband. I really do think he wants to be.
Yeah, yeah. And she just like could maybe fall into her mother's footsteps. I would say, again, I feel like I'm shitting on this book, but I want to say I had a lovely time. I thought it was really funny. And I thought the sex scenes were really good. But I do agree with you. And I wonder if what the author could have done is made this into a duet.
Yes.
And they you're right, like get back together and then maybe eventually they break up and then they go to therapy and then they get back together, or maybe they don't get back together in this book. They spend more time apart and then they work it out later. But like I agree, for like a standalone, I do think it just missed some of the character development in the relationship conflict wasn't resolved in a way. It was resolved in a fairy tale wave of the hand way, not in like a realistic way.
The reconciliation was too short, actually. It needed an extra chapter or two.
Yes, because also I read this via audiobook, so you see the percentage. And I remember when I looked down at my phone and it was like 92% or something like that, and they hadn't gone back together. And I was like, oh shit, they get back together in the last like fucking 5% of this book. Like that's wild. Like I really think they could have done it over 2 books, or it's like, it was only like, I think like 300 pages, 10, 11 hours on audiobook.
Yeah.
I was like, do another 100 pages or whatever and
Yeah.
expand it a little bit.
The ending needed more meat. It definitely needed more meat. Side note, who's Kate? They keep mentioning
Oh,
Kate.
yes. Kate was like, yeah, the alleged person that Elliot dated after Emma, but that was fake or whatever, because they do talk about how like they tried to date other people but it just didn't work, but we never figure out actually if Kate was actually like real or why they think that.
I thought Kate was just a girl he was hooking up with after he broke up with Emma, because Emma
No,
said she was hooking up with other guys.
no, I do think that that's the case, but I was like, why does your friend of a friend, like family friend, know that?
You know what I think it is? They probably saw him at like a grocery store with a girl, and, it was
Yeah.
Kate, and then they're like, "Why are you depressed?" And it might be Emma. He's like, oh, "Okay," he just didn't want to say Emma's name. Wait, I don't know. Elliot just gives me the vibe that he's not the type to switch his hookup partners often. Like he'll just have
No.
one for a stretch, while Emma's
Yeah.
like she'll change him out more often. Maybe
Yeah.
that just means a personality difference, but he just seems like he likes monogamy.
100%. Again, in their world, it's happily ever after. 6 months later, we find out they are booked and busy. The wedding special went off like wildfire, and Whitney was basically canceled and memified because of the show. So happy for them in that sense.
And she ends up getting her contract, basically her exclusivity with Bloomy at the end of the day.
Yeah, she gets her own space. And again, they're like, basically, I feel like that is a way bigger of a deal than being boyfriend, girlfriend, but they are business partners.
Okay, Emma.
Okay, let's do our discussion before we wrap up. Our internet investigation. This is our cursory peruse of the internet of things you need to know. This was very interesting to me. This is Julie Soto's first published book, but she is a prolific AO3 or archive of our own writer known as Love Bitka 8. And she wrote a book called The Auction, which is Hermione and Draco Malfoy fanfic. And so she went super viral with that and then read this book and got that published.
Okay.
And the cover art is done by a fan, Nikita Jacobson, who did the art for both The Auction and Forget Me Not. I will say I kind of low-key hated the artwork. Like, it looks like fan art. Like,
Not even that. I didn't like it because it had me thinking about, like, what does Elliot look like? Emma's described very clearly, but Elliot's not. And just kept envisioning a tall guy with a man bun. I kept envisioning Hosier.
Me too, which I didn't mind.
Hosier the florist.
Yeah, like kind of hot. Like and Julie says the book is actually inspired by Kylo Ren and Rey, so Reylo fanfic. Are you a Star Wars girl? Like, can you explain this ship to me? Like, I don't get it.
So I'm not a Star Wars girl, but my understanding is that when Adam Driver played Kylo Ren, there was like a whole romance and it was really well portrayed. And then a bunch of these authors started writing fanfic about it. That's how we got Love Hypothesis.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a lot of these are actually based on Adam Driver as Kylo Ren, and then if that's the case, then the cover art makes sense.
Yes, and now Elliot's physical appearance makes sense if he is like an Adam Driver character.
The obsession with Adam Driver in literature is a discourse that one day needs to be dissected. But
1000%.
But before I go, let me move to the next point. I don't understand why people ship the Kylo Ren version of Adam Driver more than the Adam from Girls version of Adam Driver. And that's just a discourse for another day.
100% agree. 100% agree. Like, why is there a million fanfics, but no one bats an eye at Adam?
He's one of the best like romantic protagonists of all time.
Yeah.
Or antagonist, depending on how you look at him.
Yeah, that makes me sick. That makes me sick.
The girls' renaissance.
Yes. Okay, our Wonder Whys, these are unanswered questions for the listeners. I think we covered most of these, but like a few just off the bat. Why doesn't the mom have keys to the flower shop when it's like a family business? I thought that was really weird.
I thought
she was locked out. Did the mom and dad divorce before he passed away?
Yeah, they were divorced.
Oh, I just completely missed that. Oh yeah, okay. I thought no, you are right. Now that you mention it, I just thought that when she married Stefan, it was she had moved on from her husband's passing.
No, they got divorced.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. Okay, so maybe not so unanswerable. Why didn't she give anyone else the details of the wedding? This pissed me the fuck off because it's like, if you are a wedding planner, you need an assistant. Like, that is a given.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to tell another person all of the details because the day of the wedding, she was like, well, no one else can run it. I have all the details in my head. And I was like, no, that's actually like, I do some event planning. And I'm like, that's actually insane to me that you either don't have one other staff member that knows the details too, or a detailed like program and schedule and run sheet with all of the details. So in case something happened and you were indisposed or whatever, you could give the sheet to someone else or tap in your staff member. It killed me.
Well, she's a control freak and a perfectionist, and that's why she doesn't have the details of the wedding on paper. It's literally that's what it is. And like
I was screaming.
Elliot tried to tell her so many times in the nicest, most respectful manner.
She didn't give a fuck.
Homegirl does not listen to me about anything. She would drive me nuts. God bless Elliot.
No, literally. I was literally screaming at my fucking phone. And then why didn't this... Okay, this was another thing. Why didn't the senator wedding pop off her career? Because they kept saying, like, Hazel and Jackie's wedding is going to be, like, it's going to bring in so many new clients. I was like, wouldn't a senator wedding get not maybe as much as an influencer, but, like, some, like a Vogue spread or something?
Well, remember this. She left shortly after the first dance. So I don't even think she was around for photo ops and everything and to answer interview questions. And remember, his mom went looking for the both of them after they broke up down the hall, and he and his mom had this heart to heart. So I think that she could have had the prize had she done the takedown or stayed that long. She honestly, she burned her own bridge.
Right. That actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, our gripes and grumbles. These are nitpicky problems with the book. Again, I feel like we've discussed a lot of them. The mention of millennial culture / like donut culture and stuff like that was very reading like this book was written in like 2014, 2015, 2016.
You know what? Yeah, I got that. I get that.
Elliot has a love for exotic plants, yet he mentions a baby breath chandelier like fucking a million times. Baby breath is like the cheapest flower you can find at a florist.
Yeah.
And why are you doing so much work with baby breath? Baby's breath.
Honestly, I was just like, sir, if you see a vision, baby breath is a filler. It's not a standalone flower. It's a filler.
Exactly.
That's for you to figure out.
No, literally.
Like, I don't know.
We talked about this, but I was like kind of annoyed at Jackie and Hazel that they kept pushing so much wedding stuff on her and the Bachelorette story when they know that she's a small business, and she was very explicit at like the scope of her event planning, and they like just keep adding money. They keep adding like huge asks of her, and I was like, that's kind of unfair.
It is, but she also made herself that disposable, and I think that ties back into what Whitney was saying about making yourself so open. And also, she basically told him she could do anything.
Yes, that's okay. That's fair. Yes.
She really, really did.
You're right. The only time she actually said this is my scope was in the first meeting,
and then the rest told her she could charge more. Remember?
Yes. You're right. No, you're right. At every other meeting, she was like, we can literally do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Okay. I think this is the last thing that we haven't discussed, but like, I will say I like flowers a normal amount, and I like wedding planning and a normal amount. I think this book, it kind of actually gave me Allie Hazelwood vibes in this way. But I just think nothing plot-wise actually really happens in this book outside of wedding planning shenanigans. And I just think that if you didn't like those two aspects, you might get a little, like, bored of the book.
Yeah.
Because why I mentioned Allie Hazelwood is just, like, some of her science references. If you're not a science girly, some of it just kind of gets a little redundant.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm glad that I'm into wedding planning and flowers because I enjoyed this book. But I was like, I could see, you know, another person reading it and being like, okay, like, enough about the fucking rare plant that you, like, harvested from South America. Like,
honestly, I agree. It wasn't the flowers part for me. It was actually the wedding planning. And I felt like they spent more time on wedding planning than on Emma and Elliot.
yes, 100%. At some point, I was like, okay, I could literally tell you their music, their decor, their blah, 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 their transportation details and stuff like that. And it's like, I would actually just rather another scene of them having sex in the church. Like,
yeah. like give me more smut. Give me more smut.
Yes.
I feel like we got to see Elliot and Emma's working relationship, but we didn't actually get to see their romantic relationship outside of hooking up. I don't think we did.
Yeah, we only saw them go on one date, the Italian date.
And I'm just kind of like, do you guys talk?
Yeah.
No.
Outside of working together on weddings, do you guys talk?
And that's why I also go back. I don't think this would last in real life. I don't think so.
Yeah. I think that's tea, to be honest. Like,
I don't think so.
Okay, let's wrap up with our sequel scoop. This is the tea on any upcoming sequels, seasons, and the general reception. There's no sequel. The book went super viral on Book Talk, but this is the kicker. It's being made into a TV series.
Like for Netflix or Amazon Prime?
I don't know. It's very early days. I could still see it actually getting shelved because there's only one announcement. It was, I think, a few months ago. And it basically just said that a production company had bought the rights to the book. So again, with the way things are going, like post SAG-AFTRA strikes, I feel like it is a hot mess express with what Hollywood is actually making right now.
Oh yeah.
But
it's giving prime. It's giving prime though.
It is very much giving prime. But Kay, this was my question for you, and I feel like I think we're on the same page with this. To me, this is a movie.
Yeah,
this is not a TV series.
It's a movie. And if it's a TV series, it has to be like Daisy Jones and the Six, like a short-term limited. But then again, it doesn't have enough substance to be a Daisy Jones and the Six.
Exactly.
So it's like a nice like rom-com movie. It's a movie.
100%. So I was like, maybe I'm just dumb and I read it wrong, but it kept being like series adaptation or whatever. And I was like, maybe they could be book series, because I was just like, it would be insane to me. I just don't see the vision of it being a TV show. This is giving like literally The Wedding Planner with Jennifer Lopez, or like it's giving early 2000s rom-com vibes, like with the bitch wedding planner Whitney and stuff like that. Yeah. And I'm hoping that if it does ever get made into something, that it becomes a movie.
It should be a movie. It should be a short movie. Like The Idea of You, like that would not have worked as a series.
Yes. Even the title Forget Me Not, I was like, that's anyone but you.
Yeah. It's a movie. It's not a TV show. But it's also giving Prime. It's not giving Netflix. It is giving Prime.
Totally, 100%. Yeah, it's giving a little bit like off-brand, like it's not a theater. It's not going to be in the theaters. It's giving streaming service, It's like straight to DVD. Again, I'll be seated. Like, don't get me wrong. When this premieres, I will be eating this up. You can come back on and we can discuss the movie or TV show or whatever. But I'm like, don't get me wrong. I'm going to eat it all up. But it's like, I don't know. We'll see. Any final thoughts on Forget Me Not?
I think it's a good quick read. It's a very speedy read. It's a very light read. If you're looking for a cute romance, it's good. If you like weddings, you like flowers, it's great. I recommend it. If you kind of want to be conflicted about the female protagonist, the female main character, go for it. If you just want like a cute, fluffy, makes you feel good, heals your inner like trauma child love interest, go for Elliot. Read it for sure. But yeah, I think that I don't even know what I give this. It's not it's not a 5 out of 5 for me. It's definitely not. I feel like it's a 3.5 out of 5 for me. That's my rating, but
Yep.
it's a quick and easy read.
Yeah, I'll probably round up to 4, but I completely agree. Super easy breezy read. But will I be thinking about it in like
No.
6 months or whatever? No. But again, I would recommend. I enjoyed myself. I think last thing I will say is that I think it was a really good mix of rom-com and smut. I wanted maybe a little bit more rom,
Yeah.
but I find sometimes in rom-coms they can lead too heavily on like just like less smut, I feel
Yeah.
like too heavily on shenanigans or whatever, and I thought
Oh
that this
yeah.
was a good mix. But like, yeah, I wanted more rom and more character development. Like, I think it could be a brilliant duet. But yeah, stoked to have read it. Thanks, Haley, for the rec.
Yeah. Thank you, Haley. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this read.
Me too,
Excited to
me
see what
too.
the next read is. We'll see.
Yes. Okay. Again, thank you so much for coming on. This was so much fun. Can you tell the listeners where they can find you and anything else you want to plug?
Sure, if you want to find my podcast, you can find it at Pessimism at its finest, anywhere podcasts are available. And I actually do have a bookstagram, thanks to Torry. So I had it named For Love and Books at first, and Torry was like, it should just be Romance at its finest. So it's now officially Romance at its finest. So you can also follow my bookstagram
Yes. Yes,
if you want.
yes, yes. That brand continuity.
Thank you,
I'm
Torry,
obsessed. I'm obsessed. Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you again so much for coming on.
for having me.
And that's the story of Forget Me Not. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to Alexandria for joining me on today's show. It's so nice to be back. I hope everyone had a really nice July. The month absolutely flew by. I cannot believe that I felt like it was going to be so long, and then it just absolutely blew by. But I'm happy to be back. I want to let you know our schedule is going to be changing. I'm going to be posting episodes twice a month, so every 2 weeks instead of every week. As probably most of you know, but I host another podcast called Ready to Be Petty. And right now I post an episode a week there on my Patreon, patreon.com/RTPP podcast. If you're interested in pop culture news and celebrity gossip. And I was just really reflecting. I don't know if I shared this too much in the last episode, but at the end of June, I was just really reflecting at the 6-month mark of 2024 and reflecting on the past 6 months. And basically what it came down to is I was just podcasting all the time. I wasn't doing social things. I wasn't taking care of myself. And I was podcasting in moments like editing and stuff like that and posting in moments that I don't want to be, like on vacation and on holidays and when I'm at my family's house for a long weekend or whatever. And I just need to create a more manageable schedule for myself so I can both balance having a podcast and having a life, a full life where I get to read and enjoy reading. So I'm sad about that because it means, half the episodes, half the books, half the guests, half the conversations. But I think in the long term, it will be good. And who knows, maybe one day I will make some money on the pod and be able to hire an editor or something like that would allow me to record more episodes. But right now, with the reading, the note taking, the production, the guest scheduling, the recording, and then like the editing pieces, I think I said that twice, but whatever, you get it. I have to go down to 2 episodes. I was thinking about making them shorter, but I really like talking in depth about the book. So we'll see. This podcast is new. This is the current iteration, but who knows? It might change in the future. Okay, friends, if you've been enjoying our TBR, you can subscribe and leave a rating and review on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. That really helps new listeners, click play when they come across my show. So I appreciate that. And if you'd like to suggest a book or leave a voicemail for a future episode, you can do so via the links in the episode show notes. Our next episode is A Court of Silver Flames. Until then, happy reading. For Ready to Be Romanced, I'm Torry. Goodbye.